Hi guys, welcome to this live with me, Clarice. This is I'm just trying something new. Figured out, let's encourage you guys to get your 15 minutes in and based off the paintings that I've been doing on Reels, we can just kind of get a more in-depth version in the lives here. So these are meant to be quick little sessions with you guys. So let me know in the comments what you think. Say hi, hello, so I can say hi back. Once I start painting though, please note that I'll be painting so I can get back to your comments or greetings right after. Hi, Jen B. Nice to see you guys on here. Now, these vertical live streams are happening via my phone. This is like a new feature that YouTube has started. So if it zones in and out, that typically happens right when the page is blank. So don't worry, it's going to fix itself just as soon as we start painting and stuff. So as long as my hand is here, it's fairly decent. Okay, so just to make sure that I am honoring your time and we are sticking between our 15 or a little bit more than 15 minutes of time, I'm going to skip through all the products and I'll list that in the description below. But I'll just let you know what brushes I'm using. And as I'm using the paints, I'll let you know as we go along. So for the brushes, we're going to be using the Princeton Velvetouch number 4 and then the Princeton Heritage number 3. And what we're painting today is, give me 1 second to find, oh, I've actually found what we painted for the first vertical live, and that was this right here. So just to give you an example, like this was the reel. We made it the reel was based off creating your own bookmark. And then I did the live where you could do almost like a postcard. So again, like simple things that we can do just for 15 minutes or slightly more. And yeah, okay. So back to what we're painting. If I can find this example, well, it's supposed to be the fall trees. This is on Patreon, but we're going to do a more simplistic version of this on here today. Okay, so I'm going to sit down and we're going to get started. So I'm going to introduce one more brush actually. So I'm going to introduce the Princeton Velvetouch number 8. And what we're going to do is dampen our sheet first with a light color. And the color I'm going to be using is going to be burnt sienna right here. And I'm going to mix this in with a little bit of, I think this is Van Dyke brown. Yes, it is. So I want to get that nice brown autumn kind of feel, and I'm mixing it very, very light. And then we're going to paint in like a very rough scene like this. I'm going to make this tiny. The idea, this is Baohong watercolor paper, by the way. The idea is to give our little scene a background. And then we're going to be painting over it once it dries up, or maybe even before it dries up. So something like this. So if I've gone for more of an oval shape, feel free to go for more of a round or a square or whatever shape you prefer. Make this your own. Run with the inspiration. Let's see. So now I'm going to put that aside. I have that nice faded look to it. We're going to get a little bit more of the Van Dyke brown, and I just want to add a couple of strands here and there, strokes here and there, mainly at the base, just to get that nice blending in. And then taking the Van Dyke brown, using my number 4, I'm actually going to go ahead and paint in a couple of trees or lines right when it is damp. And the reason I'm doing it when it is damp is so that we can get some nice faded trees happening in the background. Getting more of that at the bottom. I'm going to get some of my Hooker's green mixed on here too. Drop some of that in while things are damp. I love the autumn sceneries that happen all around me here in Canada. It is so stunning, but just like the cherry blossom trees, I feel like it's gone way too quickly and then it's replaced with bald trees, or worse yet, who likes raking leaves? Not me. But I guess that's the price you pay for beauty. And that goes in all sectors, not just for nature, right? So next I'm getting some, so the colors for the trees, just FYI, I'm doing an orange, I'm going to be doing a cadmium, yellow ochre, and then a little bit of burnt sienna. So brown, yellow, orangey hues. I don't know where that color came from. So I'm going to start off with the orange, and we're going to lightly create the shapes of the trees. So I'm just dabbing while it is damp. I know I said let's wait for it to dry off, but I'm actually liking the idea of going a little bit rogue. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I kind of switch up things on you guys every now and then. So I'm getting some of the yellow ochre this time. I'm going to get some happening over here. And I'm dabbing, making sure that I have lots of space in between because it's damp, so it's giving me that nice blend and bleed. So I don't really need to do too much in terms of making sure the entire surface is done. So next I'm taking my burnt sienna and I am going to dab and get some of that in here. And then feel free to even add hints of this color or these colors, like kind of mix and match some of these colors into some of the other colors we have. Because remember, when you see these trees, and I don't know where most of you are located, but if you see the autumn trees, some of them have hints of like 3 different colors, 4 different colors. And that's what kind of truly makes it so amazing to look at, because they are all so arresting in tones and such. Okay, so done this. So now we have more of a damp base as opposed to wet. So if we go in next with more color to get our tree trunks, I was thinking bark for some reason, but it's not bark, it's tree trunks. We'll get more of a solid looking stroke, which is kind of what I'm looking for, because this can be our background and then we go in and we get a slightly more solid looking stroke. Now I'm going to pause a little bit just because it needs to dry just a bit more and see if anyone has any comments. It's not my birthday, Lucky, but thank you. Hi, Dahlia. Do you leave this recorded in your channel? Yes, I do. So feel free to follow, guys, because all the lives will be recorded here, so you can always catch it later. Hi, what kind of paper do you use? Can I use any type? I'm using watercolor Baohong paper or Baohong watercolor paper. Feel free to use something similar. If you've got Canson XL, that also works. Oh, and my paints are Daler-Rowney. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'll be listing everything I'm using in the description, so you can always catch that later. The reason I don't have it right now is because I usually, for these kind of sessions, I go with the flow. I have a general idea of what I'm doing, but for the most part, things might change while I'm painting. So I like to keep things open. Okay, so let's get some of this color on here. I mixed a little bit of burnt sienna in on this to get a slightly brighter looking brown. It's fairly dried up. Let's try our hand and see what happens. Actually, you know what? I'm going to place this down and we're going to use the number 3. And we're going to go back in and add more of the color for our leaves. And the reason behind that is because we're going to get another layer, which is slightly less damp. It will give us different results. So I'm going to go back in, drop this color in. It just makes more sense to do this first if you're rationalizing how watercolor works. And I'm just using that same cadmium orange to get this. Now I have a nice hazy orange in the back with some more solid looking orange in the front. I'm going to get some of this orange happening a little bit over on this side too. And just at the bottom, we're going to go with, like, there's 3 trees happening here, even though there's many more tree trunks in the background. But we don't want to overwhelm the whole situation. Then I'm going in for the burnt sienna. I'm going to mix that onto the side here. The burnt sienna and the cadmium orange are lovely together. And so I'm going to start a little bit off at the top and then go off into this middle tree that we have happening. So give the trees whatever shape you feel you would like it to have. Make a note of the ratios that you are using when you're mixing your color, because all of that is important. Also, how damp your paper is important when you're trying to get these impressionistic looking trees. So we're just building on layers here. Next is my yellow ochre, and I'm dropping that in right at the bottom. The yellow ochre is not mixing that great in with, maybe it's the lighting. So I'm gonna get, so this is how you kind of go with the flow. So mix some of the brown if you feel like the yellow ochre is giving you like a weird look or result. I'm gonna get some of that orange and blend that in too. And then we are fine. We can just stick with the burnt sienna, some of the yellow ochre, and get more of a mid-tone range. Now give the shape how, like, whatever look, rounded, more cone, depends entirely on what your preference is. Now this can get addictive, just dabbing away. Try and steal away from it. Okay, perfect. So I'm not going to do any more. Let's move on to doing the tree trunks, because I think things are fairly dried up at this point. And then we'll add a little bit of shadow at the base of these trees and we should be good. So starting from here, I'm just lightly drawing these in. Leave a little bit of white space in between if you wish. I'm going to have one here. Now it's good to do it while it is damp, then you get a nice sort of bleed happening between the trees, the trunk and the leaves. I'm going to do one here. And the background, tree trunks have almost sort of disappeared. So if you're new to watercolor, just know that watercolor dries up a lot lighter than it initially looks. So before adding on more layers, if you're fairly new to the whole watercolor scene, make sure you allow it to get a little bit, allow it to dry essentially, and then observe, just make an observation, and you'll notice the difference. I'm going to get some of my Van Dyke Brown, and I'm dropping that right where the tree trunk meets the leaves. And also at the base. And then washing off my brush, we're going to blend. And that is almost it. We're just going to add a little bit of the orange that we see here from the trees at the base to kind of reflect the leaves are falling because it's fall, but not too much orange because we don't want it to be super overpowering. I'm going to get some of that brown in there too. And then last but not least, if you want to do a little bit of additional, adding a little bit of depth, just add some darker hues of the brown at the base of the trees. And then what I also like to do is adding maybe a mixture of the green and orange and just kind of adding a little bit of really muted tones of this off to the side. It really takes a couple of tries. So if you're completely new to watercolor, I say give it a shot. Play this video a couple of times if you need to, observe first, then try it out. And you will learn a lot of things about watercolor that you typically wouldn't. So a couple of things to keep in mind, like I said, it dries up lighter than it looks when it's damp. So try it accordingly. A little goes a long way with the color. Next thing I said was when you're adding paint to a damp or a wet surface, make sure you're not kind of having to paint the whole surface. Leave a little bit of white space because trust me, it'll cover it up. And that's exactly what's happened here with our trees, as you can see. So keep these things in mind and you guys should be good. But this is it. You can end with a splatter, but that's entirely up to you. And let's end with a splatter because why not? And you can also add metallics if you like metallics. And that's it, guys. So don't forget to hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you thought. And like I mentioned, as soon as I'm off this live, I will add a list of all the supplies I have used for this. And if you want a more in-depth version to this, it is on my Patreon, so feel free to check it out there. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I'm just going to check to make sure no one had any questions, and I don't see any questions. So this is fabulous. Okay. Before I end it, I'll give you a little bit of a close-up. And we're kind of right on the mark with time because it's now telling me it's almost 20 minutes. So this is perfect. 5 minutes for chit chat and then 15 minutes for our painting. And so this is what you can accomplish in like 15 minutes, guys. So take time for you. Sit down, relax, unwind. Remember, it's just a sheet of paper. So if you don't like how things turn out, you can always try it again. But it's so satisfying to do. And this is why watercolor is so therapeutic. And hence, we try to go with the flow. Thank you, Dodo, for joining. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Like, follow, all that good stuff, and I'll see you most likely next week for another live. Bye.